to use another alternative to pick up the second, the third, and the fifth. So you can use this policy to get your first fourplex, start generating revenue, pay it down, and then leverage the property to buy a property under FHA for your second property. And then because your FHA loan can use your first property as collateral, your whole first property can be a profit thing. And then your second property under FHA can be your primary homestead. But with FHA, you can't get a duplex or fourplex or something like that. So we're gonna have to find another loan agency that would allow you to pick up a second fourplex after you use NACA to get your first fourplex. But for the average American who wants to stop renting from the renter, from the landlord, and they want to buy a fourplex and have primarily everything covered on that fourplex, where either you're splitting everything three ways, or the tenants are going to be paying for everything, where you don't have to pay for anything. In that dynamic, this loan is good for the average poor person to get a place to stay that is reasonably near their job. They can still work their 9 to 5 and have their tenants paying for the house, the car, the insurances, and all of this other stuff. You put some money aside for maintenance, and then the extra money. Because think about it, a fourplex on average, whether it's like a two-bedroom or whatever, fourplex, each unit you could be charging about 1,000 to 1,500 for rent for the three that you're not using. And that means that you can ultimately get at least $3,000 a month of profit, if not what 4,500 a month in profit off of that fourplex at like 1,500 a month. And then per unit, 1,500 a month per unit. And if you're getting 4,500 a month of profit off of your property, you can easily put $2,000 a month down on the mortgage, which still gives you a clear position. Oh, that's even better if you're doing 1,700 per door. I'm thinking about the quality of the property and the location, because there are some cities where, but the rent is going up right now. So you're right, 1,700 might be the case right now for a two-bedroom. It might reasonably be 1,700, but certain states, a two-bedroom could potentially be like 1,350, right? Some might be 1,700 with utilities included, but some might be, depending on what state you're in, like California, Florida, something like that. A two-bedroom might be 1,700. So if you're doing 1,700 per unit, that's almost $2,000 a unit, and you're looking at almost $6,000 a month that's being paid to you. And even out of that, you're looking at being able to put down like 2,400 or 2,800 a month on the mortgage, which makes paying that high mortgage easier to do. And then it allows you to take the other half and cover your car note, cover your own utilities, cover your cell phone bill, and then take some money and put it aside for repairs for the property, right? And that has nothing to do with the money you're getting off of your 9 to 5 job. So you can go to work, live in this fourplex, and then have your own exclusive parking for yourself, and then let everybody else park wherever they want, and you'll be good to go. You'll be good to go, right? Um, I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of the complexities of having your tenants be your neighbors, but for the sake of profit wise, you can make that work. You can pay the loan down excessively fast, and then you can leverage the property and go move somewhere else and have all four tenants pay for your next house. Where you can, like I said, use your FHA, buy you a 5-bedroom house on 5 acres of land, and have the four tenants from the duplex pay for the one house where you only have one mortgage between two pieces of property, and you're good to go. Or you could do another one where you leverage the asset bearing property for enough money to buy the new house cash up front, and then you have the deed for the new house and the debt for the old place, and your tenants are paying for the place that they're staying, and your place is free and clear. You could do that too. So this is a phenomenal thing that can be done. It's just getting your foot in the door that we have to talk about. You say, yeah, prices vary state on the state and the location in the state. Yeah, that's true. Oh, I hate neighbors. I am sociable if I'm already outside. So once I've left the bedroom and once I've walked out the door, I am reasonably capable of immediately being the Ned Flanders of society. However, when I'm in the house, and especially when I'm in the bedroom, I am the most Mr. Burns you will ever find. And if I had the capabilities to release the hounds, I would for everything under the sun. Answer the phone like Will Smith on Bad Boys. I ain't trying to play. So, so we're going to see what exactly is NACA. And the first thing that you have to understand is that NACA is not a bank. It is not your typical mortgage lender trying to make a profit off of your loan. NACA is a Neighborhood Assistance Cooperation of America and is a non for profit housing justice organization. And now that I met them, I might actually partner with them in some real estate. Its mission is rooted in activism and fighting for economic justice. It was founded back in 1985 by Bruce Marks. NACA grew out of a battle against predatory lenders that targeted low and moderate income communities, especially communities of color. So their entire philosophy is that home ownership shouldn't be a privilege for the wealthy, but a way for everyone to build stable families and generational wealth. So this isn't some small local group. NACA is a large nonprofit housing service organization in the country, one of the largest ones, with offices all over and a huge online presence serving people in all 50 states. So to make this best in America mortgage possible, NACA has secured massive financial commitments from some of the biggest banks, totaling over $20 billion. A key partner is Bank of America. So think about what that means. A major financial institution is backing a program that offers terms you just can't find in open market. And this partnership gives the program serious legitimacy. The bank provides the money for the loan, while NACA handles the counseling, the qualification process, and the advocacy. NACA's job is to get you ready for home ownership and make you a borrower the bank can trust, even without a perfect credit score or a big down payment. And their method works. One of the most impressive statistics about NACA is its incredibly low foreclosure rate. While exact figures fluctuate, NACA consistently reports a foreclosure rate that is just a tiny fraction of the national average for conventional or even FHA loans. This proves that their core belief when working people get a fair shot, the right support, uh, and the right opportunity, that they're going to become successful homeowners. They debunk the myth that you need to charge people with lower credit scores higher fees to make up for the risk, because that's what most of the lenders do. So when you hear about NACA, don't just think of it as a loan. Think of it as a movement. It's a housing justice organization that uses its mortgage program as a tool to fight economic inequality. And this is key to understanding the whole process, including the part that can be incredibly frustrating. Their goal isn't just to get you a loan, it's to make you a successful homeowner for the long haul. This is going to be the part that gets everyone's attention. The benefits of the NACA loan that sounds so amazing, that most people are immediately skeptical. So let's break these down. Too good to be true promises one by one, and then put some real numbers on them. First, that headliner, zero down payment. And what does that really mean? 100% financing. With the conventional loan, you're usually expected to put down 3 to 20%. An FHA loan, another popular choice, requires at least 3.5% down. And by the way, I'm just going to throw it out there. You're probably going to have to pay for appraisals. You can't even negotiate that into the sale where the seller pays it. You're going to get stuck with the appraisal cost. So let's do the math on it. You have a $300,000 home, 3.5% down is about $10,500. That's the down payment, not the closing cost. A 10% down payment is a $30,000 expectation, and a 20% down payment to avoid mortgage insurance is a massive $60,000. For renters, that's a mountain of cash that they just don't have. With NACA, that number is zero. This single benefit demolishes the biggest barrier to home ownership for most people. He said, from Section 8 to a homeowner, it sounds a little too good. But didn't I tell you that you can go from Section 8 to a homeowner? Didn't I just tell you the other day that you really could go from Section 8 to owning your own shit? First and foremost, Section 8 pays for your house for you. If you've got a job, you're a low income individual, you're making on time payments, that's going to be one of the requirements we're going to get into here that allows for you to pay for your own place. If you have a second person that you're living with on your Section 8 off lease, you got two incomes. That's $30,000. That's $60,000. If one person $30,000 a year is what 2,000, 2,500 a month income, 2,000, 2,400 to $2,600 a month income, and you got two people doing that, that's almost $5,000 a month for two people. That's stacking up in the same house where one person's living off lease. If y'all making $5,000 together, why are y'all not putting y'all money on this? Some people don't qualify. See, we didn't know that this even existed, but from Section 8 to home ownership is highly possible. From homeless to Section 8, and from Section 8 to home ownership, from homeless to HUD to home ownership is 100% possible. You have to have an income. It's not going to happen for free, but you have to have an income, and then you have to have a way. Somebody has to show you the way. He said, new car, new home. Most people in Section 8 choose the new car because they have a Section 8 home. But if you had the money, you should have said new home, used car from an auction. He said from Section 8, the homeowner is easier. He said, I plan to go from sleeping on a couch or sleeping on a cot in my dad's trailer to homeowner. They got to stay down until you come up. One of the better ways to go when you're living with a family member is for you to put away a lot more money to pay off some of your debts. How you doing, August? It put paying off a lot of your debts so that you have a lower debt to credit and a lower debt to income, which makes things better for you. Then making sure that you're doing on time payments. If you're doing like a year to 2 years worth of on time payments and paying down all of your debt, you can start working on credit cards, like I was telling you before, to boost your credit score. And that allows you to get qualified even easier. But I always tell you guys that falling back on a family member allows you to build yourself up, and then you can bounce back. And now you qualify for all of these extra things. Because even if you're a low income individual, 35, 40,000 years. This is one of those ways where if you had on time payment history and very little debt, you're likely to walk right in, even with a 500 credit score. And special shout out to Battle Zone, because Battle Zone had mentioned before that there are opportunities for people to get got with 500 to 580. And I was like, I don't know, not with the loan agencies that I know about, but I mean, something's happening somewhere because he was doing it. He said, good, my neighbor hired me to at least June full time, 5 days a week. Congratulations. And then I finished the job. That's what's 162-mile round trip commute every day. Ooh, ooh. So you're talking about like 81 miles in one direction. That's even if 70 miles an hour, that's still an hour and a half. That's yeah, debt to income. Yeah, so you want to work down your debt to income, and you want to be able to work up your credit score if you can. Secure credit cards can bump you up a little bit because when you do a secure credit card and then they value your credit score and then they hand you back your credit your security deposit, then you got an unsecured credit card. You good to rock. You good to rock. You don't even need that no more. You know what I mean? So we try to work on these things to make sure that uh you're able to get the things that you need to get to hold yourself down. Yeah, I'm good with numbers. It was an hour and a half. so so gas prices is hurting you right now. We were just covering that yesterday. The second thing is about this loan, and it's almost as powerful, that no closing cost idea. This is going to be another huge hurdle because closing costs are the fees that you pay to finalize the mortgage, typically running another 2 to 5% of the loan amount. And this is going to include things like the lender fees, those appraisal costs that you can't work out, and title insurance, where you might not have to pay for surveys or inspections or something like that, but you will have to pay for that appraisal cost. So on that same $300,000 home, you could be on the hook for another $6,000 to $15,000 in cash, in addition to the first almost $60,000 for the down payment. With that NACA lender, they're going to pay the cost. Oh, he said it was eating about $30 a day in diesel. That's a lot of gas. Even though diesel sometimes got better rates than premium gas, diesel, $30 a diesel, that's like 10 gallons of gas. 10 gallons of gas a day. Whew. Now when you start doing the math, that's $300 every 10 days. That's $900 a month for gas. That's $9,000 a year for gas. Well, plus the other 2 months, that's $10,800 a year in gas. That's whew, whew. Now y'all see why I covered this show yesterday. Now, back to the main thing. These guys are not going to roll it into your loan. They are simply paying for it for you, so you don't have to pay for the cost of it. Because a lot of places that says, well, no money down, they roll it off into a loan, charge you interest rates on it. That's just more stuff you got to pay. You have the no down payment thing, but because you have not put up to 10% down or 20% down on a property, you unfortunately are locked into the mandatory requirement of property insurance until you've covered the threshold of not needing the property insurance. So that's going to be the issue. It does benefit you if you need to have some major repairs that are covered under the insurance, but it doesn't really benefit you if you're trying to save money on the loan. But if you're in a flood zone or a natural disaster location, if you're going to need to get your roof fixed or some shit like that, during the course of the 30-year loan, you're likely to need that property insurance to cover the damage on the property. And you're like, well, I'll leave the roof until the next hailstorm and then use the hailstorm to fix the roof. He said, well, the mileage was also the climb of 3,000 feet down and up again. Well, the mileage is going to be, you're going to spend more gas going uphill than what you're going to spend going downhill, but you're still spending $30 a day on gas. If you're doing it for work, you hopefully can claim that on your taxes as an expense and get a massive deduction on it. Is it, but they are reimbursing me. Yep, $17.85 per day for fuel, which is almost half of what you're paying. So that's kind of something. And then you claim the rest of it on your taxes and get the rest of it written off. You're like, work truck, work truck. Now, Back to the housing situation, if you combine no down payment and no closing costs, and you're talking about saving anywhere from 16,500 to over $75,000 in upfront cash, that is not going to be seen again in your loan. That's going to be life changing for a lot of individuals. Third thing you got is this is going to be a big one for your monthly budget. No private mortgage insurance in some situations. Private mortgage insurance is something that you have to pay on a conventional loan if you put down less than 20%. It protects the lender if you default. On an FHA loan, you pay something similar for the life of the loan. So it's going to be there the whole time. But in other areas, it might not be so much. You can find yourself remortgaging a property if you've got one that has the PMI loan, but and then you go to another one, like if you're a veteran and you want to go to like Navy Federal or something like that and switch over to a different lender, you can switch over to a different lender once you've covered the threshold of that 20% down. You can remortgage the house and potentially get it cheaper, right? But either way, it's going to add hundreds of dollars to your monthly payments. And with NACA, there is no PMI ever, even with the zero down. And that means a lower, more affordable monthly payment compared to almost any other low down payment loan. Now, the fourth thing is going to be the interest rates. A below market fixed interest rate with NACA's rates are consistently lower than the national average. So we're often talking about a full percent point or more below the market average. So over a 30-year mortgage, that can save you tens of or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the rate is also always fixed, meaning that your payment won't change. He said, is this loan nationwide or localized to certain locations? That's what I covered earlier. It is apparently. I have identified that throughout the 50 states that there are more than 40 major offices in the majority of states around the country, and it is for the most part nationwide with a very strong online presence. So it is likely that you can get, and I did not grab the website. I'll put that into the membership. It is likely that you can contact them online or call or text or email them and then get a response back, and they could potentially tell you where a lender is near you where you can select a property in that region. They'll also be able to provide you with enough information to verify if they can provide you with funding in your current location, even if they're not near you. Because with online payments, it doesn't really matter where they are. Outside of their ability to financially approve the purchase of the property and your ability to legally be bound to the contract of paying them back, that's really the biggest thing. Unlike with real estate investment properties where the agent must work where the license is, where it comes down to dynamics where um, the funder of your transaction doesn't necessarily have to be in the same location as the transaction, as long as they're willing to put up the money. So if you contact the source and verify that the property that you're trying to get, that they'll fund it for you, then that's your first step. But from what I understand, yes, it is throughout the United States. It's been around since '85. It's been around, or '85 or '82. It's been around for a very long time, and they've been able to expand from a localized situation to a nationwide situation. Now, anybody who's trying to go into real estate development, I remember I told y'all that business model where if you were buying a real estate development company and then you picked up a bunch of properties and you were doing lease to buy contracts and you had the tenant lease the property for a period of time and with the expectation that they would buy that property after a while, that you would partner with that company, notifying that company that you got people that are renting properties that they want to buy from you, and they will connect with the buyer, and then they will work it out where you'll sell it to them at a whatever rate. They're renting the property right now. So, whether you lease it to them in-house and turn an extra profit off of interest rates, or you lease it to the lender and get your money outright and they take the property and now you can walk away with the money and go and buy something else. Either way, you're in a position where you lease the property for 2 to 4 years. 2 to 5 years, whatever, made some money off of it, then sold it and made some more money off of it. Where now you can buy another property, build it up, rent it out, do the same thing. And if the ultimate goal is to attack the low income housing development where you are creating more homes for more individual renters, your reputation will be that they will start with you and own a home by the time you're done. And you can partner with a company like this that can back your model. That's pretty fantastic. Now, NACA also has an incredibly fantastic interest rate buy down option. You, as a seller, or a grant can pay a fee to permanently lower your interest rate for the life of your loan. While you can't get it to zero, you can buy it down to a remarkably low number, giving you a level of control that is unheard of in traditional lending. Finally, the one that gives hope to so many other people, no minimum credit score required. Most lenders have heard of cutting off often a FICO score of 620 or higher. NACA doesn't use your credit score to approve or deny you. It build tiny homes with land. I I would build tiny homes with land if I'm going to do rental properties. I would not build tiny homes with lands if I was trying to sell them and mortgage them off. And reason being is that many homes, tiny homes, have not gained the reputation in real estate development to hold equity for lenders to lend on that. Lenders are not willing to lend on trailer homes very much or mobile homes very much, and they're very selective about their remanufactured or manufactured homes. So if it is not a ground up construction or something that's been stationary for like 20, 30, 40 years, they're not going to be as comfortable with uh, something that has been moved or can be moved and is still being classified as a house. So if you're going to build it or put it there and keep it, because like you can get a mini home on the back of a truck. Elon Musk is making them for like $75,000 a home, and you can have like a build a block house that's like assembled in hours. I think from what I understand that the turnaround time for buying the home, having the home built, and then having the home assembled when they're not backlogged with pre-orders is about 2 to 4 weeks. Like you can get the whole house put together in a couple of weeks time because they typically just like snap it together like Legos and build the whole house. And I'm just like, yo, that's what's up. But it's not something that you want to buy and then sell for massive quantities of money because as it stands right now, the value in the house might not be as much as it costs to make the house, but the value in renting out that house would be substantial. Because if a 2,000 square foot house is going to be sitting on 3/4 of an acre of land or something to that effect, and you're looking at how you could put 5 or 7 mini homes on a quarter acre of land, if you had a half acre of land, you could likely have 8 to 10 homes on that 1 acre of land and then put you a little swing in the middle and just have everybody all the way around the block. Each one is like point 0.1 because each home is like 500 square feet. So if the home with the yard is 800 square feet, we the whole block. That's you could cover the whole block like that, right? And that's going to be another. He said, I should have said build on the land. I mean, I understand what you meant, but if you build on the land, even if you build on the land with a concrete pad, the cost to build it up for a mini home, for a tiny home, might be more than the value of the home. That's the concern. Now, if you're renting it out for long term, you build a mini home now and you're going to keep it for 40 years, you're going to make way more money off of that rental property than what you would if you sold it. but the cost to build it is not going to gain you equity this year, and the cost to sell it might not be as much as it costs to build it. And with certain states that are charging extra taxes on getting rid of property, you might not make as much money off of it with the property taxes if you did sell it. So you would have to rent it out for a good period of time to get your money's worth out of it and then sell it. If you're really trying to take advantage of opportunity cost, because if the property appreciates in value when you do sell it, you're going to sell it for more than what you built it for, and then you're going to make some money off of the rent as well. That's going to be like an all around thing. I'm not saying like don't just build and sell for the mini homes, but I am going to say that you have to really look at the financial cost of building that mini home before you look at the profit margin in it, because the average house that's being sold is like 700 square feet, 800 square feet, 1,500 square feet, 2,000, 2,500 square feet. They're not doing like 500 or 400 square feet, which is like what a mini home is, like a 50 by 50 or a 100 by 100 just box with a toilet and a kitchen all in the living room kind of situation. It's just they don't have that priced into the market right now. And since it's not priced into the market right now, the value of the house is what you paid to build it. And what somebody's willing to buy it off of you for is how much you're going to get for it. So it might not sell for as much as you build it. He said, why would I not want to sell it? Oh no, he said, why would I want to sell it? Oh, when your comment came up, I was talking about buying and selling properties. So I assumed that you were like, oh yeah, we could just buy a bunch of stuff, and sell it. And I'm like, I don't know, bro. That's not selling it ain't gonna it's a fantastic idea if you're gonna buy it and keep it. Because I mean, most of us who live in our bedroom would have no problem with getting a mini home and the mini home being the size of a master bedroom. Like when you walk out of the door, instead of walking out of the door into the hallway of another portion of the house, you walk out the door and you're outside. I mean, yeah, less space, less money, less responsibility, less repair. But I mean, buying and selling that kind of thing, the market isn't there for it yet to show value on the property, because the way they gauge the appraisal value of the house, looking at the condition of the house and the dimensions of the house, what houses in the vicinity have sold within the last 30 to 90 days, and what prices did they sell. That's how your house is valued. So if 5 or 7 or 10 houses in your neighborhood have been sold for $200,000 and they're the same size house in the same condition, your house is valued at $200,000. Even if it's not sold at that, your house is valued at $200,000. So any after repair value is, if I fix a bunch of stuff on this house, it is likely to be able to be sold at the same price or more than the other 6 houses that were sold in the neighborhood. Which means that my house could be sold for 205, it could be sold for 250. Even if I bought it for 130, it could be sold for 150, 250. And if that's the case, the difference between what I paid for it, how much debt I have in it versus how much I could sell it for, that's the equity on paper. The difference between how much I owe on it and the equity on paper, that is going to be the actual equity in the property that you can take a HELOC out on. So if the house could be sold for 250, 80% of the 250 might be like 180. I bought it for 130. There's $50,000 worth of equity in the house, which means that I could still take out a $30,000 30 at least $30,000 loan out on the house and buy a brand new car. I wouldn't recommend that because it's going to make your monthly payments go up. But if you needed to, you could. If you needed to take a $10,000 HELOC out and rebuild your engine, you could, because you got like 50 grand on your house. You can HELOC that bad boy and take care of some emergency expenses. He said the cost to build a small dry cabin, bathroom and kitchen in separate cabins. But the cost to build the cabin, okay, if we're coming from the mentality of buy and hold, buy and keep, buy and rent, yes, fantastic design. Yes, by all means, 100% promote that to buy and keep. Buy, build, keep. But buy, build, sell, it depends on where you're building it at and how much the other cabins in the area are being priced at if you're going to build it and sell it for more than you paid to build it. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So with NACA, instead of them hitting you with your FICO score and determining payments with your FICO score, they practice character-based lending. They look at your actual payment history over the last 12 months, which is why you have to maintain on time payments, even if you have a shitty credit score. Even if you said charge everything to the game, you can staple debt to my credit. And I'm not paying for X, Y, and Z charge off, but I am going to pay for everything else. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Oh, okay, yeah, buy, bill, keep. Okay. Now, if you're like, oh man, not now over the next 15 months, I'm gonna have on-time payments, or the next 2 years, I'm gonna have on-time payments. After this charge off is done, I'm gonna have on-time payments. If you did that, they're gonna look at the actual payment history over the last 12 months. Do you pay your rent on time? Do you pay your utilities on time and your car payments on time? Right? They want to see a consistent pattern of you meeting your obligations. Now, this is going to be beneficial for you with your FICO score because since Donald Trump has changed the FICO score, where I think it's a Vantage 4 or Vantage 6 or Vantage 2 type FICO score, where they include in the credit reporting your payment history, including basic utilities. This makes it easier for you to show public record that you've been paying your shit on time. This approach focuses on your current habits, not past mistakes, not a foreclosure from decades ago, not an eviction from last month, not a bankruptcy from 3 years ago. What have you been doing over the past year? What have you been doing over the past 2 years? If your last missed payment was 18 months ago and they're focusing on the last 12, you're likely to see more improvement. This is going to be opening doors for people locked out of the traditional system because they have a very shitty credit history. Now, deep breath, because we've gone through the incredible upside. Now we have to talk about the other side of the coin because there's no too good to be true scenarios in this world. And this part is critical for setting realistic expectations. For every NACA success story, there is a story of frustration. There's a reason people have nicknamed it a never actually closing anything scenario. While that isn't true, it speaks to a core reality. The NACA process can be very long and grueling and very demanding journey and sometimes financially probing. And this is the practice that you have to get used to and the price of admission for the type of benefits that they're offering. Is it like poor people with houses each month in the local newspaper is a list of foreclosures. You know what's funny about that though? The list of foreclosures in the newspaper are not the poor people, it's the middle class people. Poor people don't even qualify for the average loan, so they're not the ones being foreclosed on. The middle class, the lower middle class and upper middle class that bought above their income status, those are the people that are being foreclosed on. The people that are making 30, $50,000 a year, they're not being foreclosed on. They don't even qualify. The people that are making 75, 120, $250,000 a year, those are the people that are getting foreclosed on. So when you look at a newspaper and you see this $300,000 house, $500,000 house, $750,000 house being foreclosed on, that is not no Section 8 person that didn't belong in that house. That is not no, because a poor person is going to be looking at $150,000 house, not a $750,000 house. You say, actually, it's everyone. It ain't everyone, Michael. It is everyone that could qualify for a loan, but it ain't everyone because the poor people don't qualify. So here's what we're talking about. The NACA is for people who don't qualify for FHA and potentially VA. So if you don't qualify for some of the major loan options, this program qualifies for them. So the loan that is given to the average person who qualifies, those are the ones that you're seeing for the foreclosures in the newspaper, not the average person who can't even afford to get in there, who doesn't have the money down, who doesn't have the credit history. Because again, outside of NACA, you have down payments people can't afford, low credit scores that don't qualify them. They get disqualified on the credit score alone. Recent foreclosure will disqualify them. Recent bankruptcy will disqualify them before we get to the fact that they have a high debt to low income scenario that also disqualifies them before they get to the loan. This process is going to ignore the majority of that. And as long as you have on time payments and a reasonable income, you're likely to get your foot in the door with less money than it would take for the down payment on an apartment, because they said no money down and no money at closing. So as long as you can meet whatever hurdles they want you to jump through, you're likely to get into this property and just pay the mortgage the way you paid the rent. Now, yes, people do lose their houses anyway. Anybody who qualifies for a loan can lose their money, especially if their money isn't guaranteed from the government. They can lose their money. It is widely understood. So anybody who does not have a government funded agency paying for their bills, paying at least for their mortgage, are likely to be guaranteed in a situation where they just cannot get around the fact that they might lose their house. Take all the federal agents that are furloughed right now, a month out. They were 6 weeks out before. 2 months of unemployment, those people are looking at foreclosure. Yeah, they can do some government programs that is going to do some payment assistance and stuff to that effect, but it is going to be individual because you lost your job for 2 months and you're looking at foreclosure. So millionaires, especially millionaires are going to be the ones that are going to get hit because they're buying what they thought that they could afford. They can't afford it anymore because they're not making the money that they used to make, usually living at more than 80% of their income. And if their income drops 25%, they can't afford it. They've got more debt than they have income and they never bounce back, so they can't catch up. And then they end up losing it all. But poor people, it's like, check the chat. It's like, I wish I was in this house looking at the newspaper. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody who was paying attention to St. Patrick's Day. Green beer. St. Patrick's Day is the day where you're pinching booty cheeks because they're not wearing green. On St. Patrick's Day, I'd be walking around with red, yellow, black. I'd be like, squeeze here, put a red patch in the front. It ain't wife material behavior, but I mean, if she had on a full white outfit and like red circles in the front and red circles in the back, like you know what to do. I'd be like, my man, turtle, turtle. All right, look, back to the seriousness. Let's start with some of the biggest complaints. And this is going to be the infamous timeline. This is not for people in a hurry that are trying to rush to move, which is why I told you that if you had a platform where you were picking up properties, putting tenants into properties, and then working them into a buy it from me kind of scenario, it'll help them. But if you were trying to move out, if your lease ends in the next 60 days, NACA is not for you. If you're trying to leave before the lease is up, if you're trying to leave before that month to month kick in, if your landlord gave you a 30-day notice and you're trying to get out, this ain't for you. While many people get qualified in 3 to 6 months, 3 to 6 months, that means that you moved in on your current lease, and 6 months into your lease, you start the process with them and you might get qualified within 6 months. You might get qualified by the time your lease ends. It is not uncommon for it to take longer, especially if your finances are complicated. Individuals that work for themselves, they hustle and flow, they grind. They don't have they have income, but they can't really tell you where the income come from. You showing bank statements, but a lot of it is just you putting cash in the bank. Not much of it is like coming from a specific source. Like they really want to see legitimate sources of where the income is coming from. And if they don't see that, you know, you got money. It's just not money that they want to see. That makes it complicated. The process is deliberately slow and methodical. It is designed to prepare you for home ownership, but that means waiting for appointments, for underwriting reviews, for your action plan to be completed. Patience isn't just a virtue with NACA, it is a requirement. Okay. Next step, the mountain of paperwork. If you think a regular mortgage is a lot of documentation, you haven't seen anything yet. The NACA qualification process is like a full financial colonoscopy. They want to see everything: pay stubs, 2 years of tax returns, any months of bank statements for every account you have. Every line item is scrutinized. Have a large cash deposit? You'll need to write a letter explaining where it came from. A late payment from 8 months ago? You'll need to explain that too. This requires an extreme level of organization and primarily full financial disclosure. Then there are the strict rules and requirements. First, you must attend a mandatory a home buyer workshop. That's going to be the counseling part that Michael's talking about right now. Hold on, I don't want to accidentally hit you with that. Yeah, the counseling part that you're talking about right now. After that, you're assigned to a housing counselor and you must follow their instructions to the letter. The housing counselor is going to make sure that you don't buy with big eyes and shallow pockets. You'll also have to become an NACA member, which is almost like getting a USAA account or an NCAA account or something to that effect. And then you're going to be paying a modest annual membership. Apparently, because it is a non for profit, the beneficiaries of this non for profit is going to have to pay into the pot, because if there's no money going in, no money will come out for those individuals that can't afford it. So, one of the most unique requirements is going to be that participation, as any advocacy organization has. NC, NACA requires members to contribute to helping everybody else. So you must participate in at least 5 advocacy actions or volunteer activities every year as you're in this program, with at least one before you are qualified and one before you close. And this could be anything from attending a rally or helping at a workshop, reinforcing the ideas that you're part of the movement. He said, "You think HOA is bad? Bro, this is like a cult. This is like a cult. We ain't trying to front. The details that we're talking about right now, we halfway through, and this is why I did not hear about this before Sean told us about it. But this is rough. This is some stuff, but it'll get you in there. It'll get you in there. Effort bypasses the lack of income. The more effort you put into this, the less you got to pay. If you saving 75 grand up front, but you putting in 75 grand worth of effort, they getting their money out your ass. It is what it is. This is a non for profit, but it is not non for effort. They getting something out you. The rules don't stop there. Once you get the keys, the most significant requirement that you got now is the owner occupancy requirements. This is what me and you were talking about before. You must live in that home that you're buying with a NACA loan for the entire life of the mortgage. And this isn't a program for a house flipper or landlords. They enforce with a lien on your property. And if you violate the rules, you could face significant financial penalties and even foreclosure. So the only ways out are to sell the house or refinance it with a different lender after you get the house, which means that you're likely to not refinance the house until you can afford the down payment or until you have paid enough money down on the property to cover refinancing. That's going to be it. If there's that much equity into the property where you're likely going to refinance the property and uh, 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 stretch it out another 30 years, where you probably pay for it for 5 or 10, refinance it, and now you got a 30-year mortgage where you have no money down still, but your payments are going to be lower and you're going through it. But now you don't have to deal with the bullshit no more. That's where they're at. He's a I've heard enough. It's not for me. Too many hoops to jump through, and I don't feel like doing all that, bro. I'm only covering it because Sean told me about it, and I told y'all that I'm gonna give y'all every opportunity to be successful. This is a way to get yourself in there if you ain't got enough. But I've also said that it is better for you to look for a first time home buyer credit, look for down payment assistance program, get you an FHA because it has less requirements. The only requirement FHA has is that you have a decent credit score, usually above a 640. 620 to 640 is good. But if you have anything above a 650, they love you with an FHA. They're gonna, if you have a down payment assistance program, that'll cover the down payment, but it won't cover the closing cost. If you negotiate the closing cost into the sale, then the only thing you have left is the appraisal, which you're likely going to have to pay out of your own pocket. So if you cover the cost for the appraisal, you're likely to do good. You're likely to do good. And an appraisal is not going to be that much because usually inspections are going to be between $500 and $1,000, depending on the size of the property and the complexity of the property. And an appraisal is going to be about the same price. It's going to be them putting a price tag to the condition of the house instead of checking the condition of the house and seeing what needs to be fixed. So if you're able to put up $1,000 for an inspection, you're able to put up $1,200 for an appraisal, and it's going to probably be less than that depending on the cost of the property. As long as you have the money to cover the appraisal, everything else you should be able to squeeze that in to the seller, paying for that stuff in closing costs. So the goal is not necessarily to try to build yourself up to like 150 down or 30% down or whatever. The goal is to fix your credit score and reduce your debt and improve your payment history so that you can qualify for a less difficult loan. But if you're bouncing back off of a very shitty life, this is one way to get in there. This is one way to get in there because you can, in fact, get a fourplex with this. You live on the property. It doesn't matter what you do with the rest, but you must live on the property. So if you buy a fourplex and you're paying for it, you're paying 3 times more because you could be paying for it and your tenants could be paying for it, and 4 times more money could be going on this property than what is necessary. And that 30-year mortgage might get paid down in 5 or 10. You know what I mean? Which also means that you only got to put up with the bullshit until the loan is paid off. And the loan don't have to be paid off 100% of the way. You could put down enough money down with the tenants that you have to the magnitude of, once you've crossed over that threshold where you've paid like 30% of the property, you can refinance it with somebody else. And by refinancing it with somebody else, and there's income generating off of the property, that lender might allow you to take 1 or 2 months worth of rent and put it towards the down payment of refinancing, and then you can just refinance it with another lender. You don't even need an FHA at that point. You can do a straight up mortgage and refinance it with another lender. But that first 2 years that you're getting your tenants put in there and stuff to that effect, you may have to just do some tightrope walking with them, but it'll get you in there for dirt cheap. He said, they placed another NACA member in the way. I mean, if you get a duplex and they put like five members in there, it's like I help them get houses too, but they got to pay me rent. Now, here's going to be another rule. Is going to be the strict rules about the property itself. NACA hand Home and Neighborhood Development Department will scrutinize the inspection report and require certain repairs for safety or structural issues before they approve the property. This is going to be equivalent to a VA loan. They want to make sure that there is absolutely nothing wrong with this property. It is not going to be a fixer upper. It is going to be ready to move in. This is going to be great for you because it's going to protect you. But it can complicate negotiations with the seller because if they were going to give it away and take the buyer credits, and a buyer credit is whatever we agree on minus the cost of repairs, that's what we're going to sell it at. A lot of times, a person who doesn't mind spending the extra money to fix the property will get it for a steal because they'll do without certain features in the property to get it for even cheaper. This, like a VA loan, has a strict requirement that if in the event the house is not livable, you can't negotiate it. And if the seller is not going to fix it, you can't negotiate it. So the cons are going to be real, but the process being long, the paperwork being immense, and the rules being strict, this is going to be a huge trade off. And this is the sweet equity that you put into the earn that is the incredible loan. You're going to earn this loan by putting in all this effort. He said, home inspections, yes, sir. So you've seen the pros and you've been warned about the cons. If you're still here and you believe the rewards is worth it, whew, how do you actually do it? I don't know. Because I'm looking at that like I couldn't do that. But if you want to know how to do it, here's going to be a step-by-step roadmap through the NCAA maze or the NACA maze. Step one is going to be the NACA home buyer workshop. And your journey is going to begin with a free mandatory workshop, which you can attend in person or online. And this is going to be where you'll get a full overview of the program, its philosophy, and every step of the process. Pay close attention here because at the end, you can register as a NACA member and then get access to your personal website, uh, uh, your web file, where your entire journey is documented. So when you go to these sessions, you want to pay attention to what they're telling you because at the end of that, they're going to give you your membership. Step two, you're going to first uh, do your housing counselor meetings. After that workshop, you'll have your first one-on-one meeting with an NACA housing counselor. And this is where the deep dive starts. You're going to upload a ton of financial documents to your web file beforehand. Your counselor will go through your entire financial picture, income, debts, spending, savings, investment portfolios. The goal isn't to approve or deny you, but to create a personalized action plan to get you NACA qualified. Step three is going to be the action plan and payment shock with savings. This is often the longest phase. Your counselor will give you a list of tasks. This could mean paying down certain debts, resolving certain collections, writing letters of explanation, justifying large deposits or large withdrawals. The most important part for many is saving for payment shock. So let's say your rent is like $1,500 a month, but your target mortgage will be $2,000 a month. NACA needs to see that you can afford that extra $500 increase. To prove it, they will require you to save that $500 difference every month for 3 to 6 months or more. This proves that you can handle a higher payment and forces you to build up a healthy savings account for moving expenses and emergencies, which is crazy. Yeah, I know it sounds like a lot, but why put you on a property that you can't afford to pay for? So they want to see if you can do it. This is a this is a burdensome program. This is a burdensome program, but it's the kind of program that will help you get your stuff together before you move into home ownership. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to stay in the program and own the house and walk away from it because I mean, you can lose your job 5 years into this. But it does guarantee that if you do it right, you know what you should have done. And all you had to do was find alternative ways to make money for you, where this process wouldn't be that hard. Like when we look at all of the stuff that we talked about, for example, joining a couple of seminars. It I know Steven, you said, nah, fuck that, that's too much to ask for. If somebody was going to give you $75,000 for your house, and all they ask is that you showed up 6 times and helped them raise the money to do it for somebody else, I personally believe you would say fuck yes. But because you're not thinking about the fact that they're willing to put up $75,000 on your behalf to help you buy the house, that you're just thinking about this like probation. Like, fuck this. I got to pay for membership. I got to show up every day and volunteer. And it's not every day, it's once before you buy, once before you close, another time after you buy, and maybe a couple of more times after that. I think 2 or 3 times a year where you got to just get out there and help them, help other people qualify for loans. To me, if you can join a frat party or join a student organization at school and help them with a fundraiser of some sort, you can do this. You can do this. If you can be part of student government, you can do this. It's it's doable. Not too many people want to, and that's why it's not widely known, even though it exists all over the place. But you guys gotta think about outside of the box ways to explode off of the horizon. So take for example, like I said before, do what it takes to get into the house. Then after you do what it takes to get into the house, you're going to be following a plan that will make you bank worthy, which means that if you qualify for the house with them, the only thing you need now is a better credit score, and then you qualify with a refinance loan. Just refinance that bitch. As soon as you get tired of putting up with their bullshit, it's like, hold on, let me find a lender that'll take this take this loan off my hands. But while you're dealing with bad credit, while you're dealing with missed payments, late payments, all this other stuff, that's not the time to go refinance. But 2 years of fucking with them, with NACA, you should be able to refinance. You should be able to do it with somebody because FHA, you already live in the house. So if you're refinancing with FHA, you ain't got no problems. You're not looking for down payment or anything because you're refinancing. So they're going to look at the equity in the house, how much money was paid towards the last loan, and be like, bet, got you, right? Now all you got to do with FHA is just stay in the house longer, right? There are ways. There are ways. You don't got to do it for 20 years, but it's almost like moving back home and being treated like a child as a grown ass man. You're going to feel a little bit intimidated by this. So look at step 4. When you're getting NACA qualified, once you've completed every item on your action plan and your file is perfectly documented, your counselor submits it to the NACA underwriter. And if they agree that you've met all the requirements, you become NACA qualified and you'll receive qualification letters that's stating the maximum mortgage payment that you're approved for. And this is going to be a massive milestone. He says, what's the best move for first time home buyers? Um, are there still low interest loans for first time home buyers? Well, this is exactly what we're talking about today. A first time home buyer can get into this NACA program and they can help you with the first home that you're trying to buy. When you're dealing with first time home buyers that have good credit, good payment history, um, and a reasonable down payment, you can get into an FHA loan. You can get into a normal loan with your credit union or your local bank. You can find a first time home buyer program that will give you the extra money for the down payment, Or you can find down payment assistance programs that helps you with um, specifically buying your first homestead. So not just a rental property or commercial property, buying your first homestead, there's a lot more financial opportunities that are around right now for individuals to buy their first homestead. Now, NACA is offering lower interest rates than FHA or VA. However, the interest rates right now are between 6.2% and on the higher end for lower credit scores, closer to 7%. So the closer you get to the closer you get to 680 or 700, the closer you get to 6.2. The closer you get to 620 with FHA and VA and other things like that, the closer you get to 7%. So how low are you looking for? Because the market average used to be 5.5 or 5.6, and now it's like 6.2, and I don't see it getting any lower anytime soon. So the best that I can see you getting is 6.25 or 6.27, and that's going to be your interest rates. How much do you recommend for down payment on $750,000 home in California? Well, they typically ask you for about 10%, which is about $75,000, sometimes 20%, which is going to be $150,000. The lowest you're going to see is about 3.5%. That's going to be the down payment, as I explained earlier in the show. And then in addition to that, you're also going to be dealing with closing costs, which is typically about 3.5% of the value of the house as well. So you're looking at another $15,000 that could potentially be on the property. So and then you have to pay the appraisal costs mandatorily regardless of what you do. So you're probably looking at for a $750,000 house, you're probably looking at a $75,000 down payment plus you're looking for another $15,000 to $20,000 for closing costs and $1,000 for the appraisal costs. So just off the top of my head, I'm figuring 80, 90, $92,000 that you're going to be putting towards, but it could be less. It could be less. It could be like $40,000. It could be 30 or $40,000 total, but it's not going to be as easy as down payment assistance that's going to pay for the down payment for you and then working the closing costs off onto the seller where you don't have to pay for anything except for the move-in costs, and then you just have to afford the monthly payments where the monthly payments are less than 50% of your income, preferably less than 40% of your income, preferably less than 30% of your income. So if your $750,000 house in California is generating a $2,000 a month income, I mean $2,000 a month mortgage, you're gonna want to make closer to $5,000 or $7,000 a month. Now, if you're making $4,000 a month in California, it's going to be harder for you to get a $750,000 a month house, but it's possible depending on certain conditions. So step five is going to be that purchasing, the purchasing workshop and the house hunt. Once you're qualified, you're not done. You're going to attend a mandatory purchase workshop, which focuses on the home buying process. Make sure that you like and subscribe and then check out the membership because we got a lot of information in there. But if you hit those reaction buttons while you're on the show, it raises awareness to a lot of other people who didn't know that there are other ways for us to get out of the rental field and get into the home ownership field. And when you think about buying a house with fixed rates, you're saving money instantaneously because every year the rent goes up 4%, and you do better with a guaranteed monthly payment for the next 30 years than what you would be with a fixed rate increase every year, with 4% fixed rate increase every year. But if you took the difference between the guaranteed 4% that you get off of rental properties and the flat fixed rate from your ownership and invest that opportunity cost in a brokerage account and raising that off of high interest accounts, you will find yourself in a situation where you're going to have more money when repairs are needed than what you would have if you were waiting on renting. And you would have more money if repairs aren't needed than you would have if you would have dumped all of your money into the equity of the house. Then you find yourself in a position where you can use the extra equity and go and pay towards uh, uh, traveling the world and other such things. But you cannot get anywhere in life if you don't start budgeting for the future. And that's what NACA is showing you. So in this particular process, you're going to be able to work with an NACA in-house real estate agent or an outside agent who is registered with the NACA, and you're going to be able to finally start looking for a house in your approved price range, which means that this is the amount of money per month that you can afford to spend. And based on that monthly payment, this is about the price of the house that you can get. They're going to expect for the agent to talk it down a little bit. But if you're qualified for a $150,000 house, you're not going to be aiming for a $165,000 house, hoping that you get it at 150. You're going to be looking at only 150 or less houses, hoping that you can get it for less than that. That way, even if they say no and you got to take it stick a price, you can still afford the monthly payment, right? Then you're going to be looking at the property approval and inspection area for step six. And once you find a home and your offer is accepted, which means NACA is going to accept it, the property itself has to be approved. You'll get a home inspection, and the reports is sent to NACA's hand department. They're going to review it for any health, safety, or structural issues because you want to make sure that there's no lead-based paint in the house, and they're going to make sure that the required repairs be made before the house is closed on. Then we get to the seventh step, which is going to be credit access and bank underwriting. After the property is approved, your file moves to the final stage. Your counselor, this whole time you're living somewhere paying rent. Just want to make sure that you understand that part. Then, then uh, you're going through this process. Your counselor verifies your financials one last time, and then submits your entire file to the partner bank like Bank of America for final underwriting. Since NACA's process is so thorough, this step is usually smooth, but the bank still gets the final say. So there might be a hiccup somewhere that still needs a little bit of fixing. And once you get that covered, like you might need a cosigner or something like that, that's when you get it done. What's your advice for home inspections? If they find something bad, like structural issues or lead based paint, don't get the house. That's a common sense question. If you're buying a homestead, you want to buy a ready to move in homestead. This is the place that you primarily go to sleep at. You don't want nothing broken. You don't want any electrical outlets not functioning. You don't want water not running. You don't want toilets not flushing. You don't want something that's going to generate cancer in your body while you stay there, or heart disease or lung failure. You want to be able to move into a place the same way you move into a apartment, that it is ready to use as soon as you go in, because nobody wants to rent an apartment where you got to fix stuff as soon as you get in, right? So if you have a home and you get an inspection and there's stuff that needs to be fixed and the seller's not going to fix it, you got to move on to another house. One of the things that you say, no fix, just move in. You're not fixing shit. You're not moving into something that needs fixed. You need to move in somewhere else. Can you negotiate down the most lenders are not going to do that. If you're getting so NACA that we're talking about today, FHA, VA, these are programs that are designed to make it easier for your primary standard of living, that there's no repairs required on the house while you live there. So before you move in, anything broke will be fixed. If you're paying out of pocket, if you're doing a top end Bank of America lender or something like that, or if you're doing like a private lender from somewhere else where they don't care what the condition of the house is, fixing flippers, like a house that got burned down, but you're trying to buy it, fix it up, sell it kind of situation, you can talk down the damage to the house and buy the house on that note. But if you're buying a ready to move in house, you're not talking down the damage. If the seller is not going to fix the damage, I'm not looking at that house. So here's what you need to think about. If you're buying a primary place for you to live, when you go onto any website and you look at the house, first, if you see damage in the photo, don't get that house because you're not trying to fix and flip the house. Second, if they do not have interior photos of the house, do not get that house because there's stuff that needs to be fixed in that house. They're not showing what they don't want you to see. And what you don't what they don't want you to see is usually a problem. Next, you have to pay attention to if they show you certain areas of the house and other areas of the house they don't show. For example, a 4 bedroom, 3 bathroom house where they only show 2 bedrooms in the living room, but they left off 1 bedroom and 2 bathrooms. If they're not showing you certain areas of the house, those are areas that are problems. And that's why they're not showing you. You read the listing, it should have in the listing fixer upper, needs work, investor dream, startup, uh, high potential. These are words that says fix it your fucking self. That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying in the listing. Now, in those listings, if you see that, run from that house because you're looking for something that doesn't have anything wrong with it. You get a house that says ready to move in, well maintained, remodeled everything, replaced everything, recently repaired roof, recently repaired HVAC system, recently repaired plumbing, recently repaired gas system, recently emptied out septic tank, direct connection to the city, direct connection to, you know what I mean? This is the stuff that's in the listing that's like, oh, I don't have no problems when I move into this house. That is what your lender is looking for. If you looking for a problem, like for example, you want to go to a brand new dealership and go buy the car that has the engine outside of the car, I'm not talking about I'm not talking about an engine that's like under the hood. I'm talking about the engine is on the ground next to the car, holding the driver's side door closed kind of situation. If you're trying to go to a dealership and look for something like that, bro, we're not in the same page. We're not even in the same book. But if you want it to work and you want it to work reasonably well when you get it, you want it to have no problems. A certified pre-owned vehicle is a vehicle that has no problems, and any problems that arise, they will fix it at no cost to you. A ready to move in house has no problems, and if you find a problem, they will fix it before you move in. When you move in, what they didn't find is now your problem. They're not going to come and fix it after you move in. The seller is has parted ways with the property once they got money. So if there's a hole in the wall, a hole in the floor, or an unexpected hole in the ceiling, that is your problem. So the inspection is supposed to make sure that there's no problems. An appraisal is like an inspection. They're going to look, and if they find a problem during the appraisal, then you got to deal with that. That impacts the value of the house. If they're doing an inspection to make sure that the house is good, that it's ready to move in, for the lender's satisfaction, you don't have to pay for a second inspection. Then you're good. But you're not trying to get garbage and then say, "Oh, this is my primary standard." No, you want within your budget, but you want quality in your budget. You just got to not be greedy about it and keep it in your budget. Now, step 8 is going to be the closing. Once the bank gives the clear to close signals, you've made it. You're going to be scheduling your closing dates. You're going to be signing final paperwork, and then you're going to get the keys to your new home, a home that you purchased with no money down. You did no closing costs. You paid for nothing other than potentially the appraisal cost, and then you're unpacking your stuff. Now, a quick pro tip: NACA often hosts multi-day achieve the dream events. These events bring counselors and underwriters under one roof. So if you come extremely prepared, it's possible to get qualified in a single weekend, which can significantly speed up your initial stages if you're one of those individuals that are listening to this funding opportunity. And if you've only got to host a couple of these events, it's like if you were doing community service and once a month you were going to go and do something good for your community, you could do something good for this program as a member once a month and meet their minimum participation requirement and then pay whatever the fee is to be there and then get your house dirt cheap. It's not that hard. It can be done. But if you know that this is what you're getting yourself into, and then you get all your paperwork together, you got your credit score together, you got your payment history together, you got all your payments accounted for, you got your debt paid down, or as much of it as possible that's paid down, and you're consolidating stuff, Then when you walk over here and talk to these folks, you're not going to have to spend 6 months undoing the chaos of your past. You would have already done that before you talk to these people. And now, because you're more than qualified, now they can squeeze you right on into whatever you need to get into to start the process of paying for the house, shaving off at least 5, if not 7 months worth of wait time to go from not being prepared to being prepared. That's one of the longest portions of this process is if you walked in unprepared, not knowing what to do, and then they're going to tell you what to do and you're going to start doing it instead of listening to me, figuring out what you want to do, get your shit together first, and then contact these people and say, hey, I've got an idea. I'm going to buy a house. I believe that based on my income, it should be about this much. This is my payment. And then uh, the question is, what else do you think I should do before we get going with closing on this house? Once you've done everything that they would have expected you to do outside of showing up and doing their home buyer class and picking out the house kind of situation, which is like 2 days out of your month. You're picking houses, you're getting ready to close, you're getting ready to move in, you got your extra money lying around, you've been showing that you've been holding X number of dollars in your bank account for like 6 months where or building emergency funds where you've got the money, stuff to that effect. You start looking at being a prodigy to this type of program, which then allows for you to speed into it. And then you're just going to live there and pay the notes. And then once you do that, you're going to be able to like I said, if your money look right, refinance. You look at how much, and this is when you know you should refinance when the debt on the house is significantly lower than the after repair value, so that there's enough equity in the house to cover a down payment cost. That's when you refinance. And then you talk to your Navy Federal, whatever credit union that you're going to be utilizing to refinance the property and just refinance it from them folks. You might just have it under their wing for 1 to 2 years, and then you refinance it with another lender, and now you don't got to go to their meetings anymore. You don't have to pay for their membership anymore. He said, what is the org that holds these events? I will get that information and I was going to squeeze it into the membership. I said that. I said I was gonna get this information. I was gonna squeeze it into the membership. But this is a nonprofit, so it is gonna be a .org. It is gonna be a .org event. But they do have these monthly events in most states around the country, and I'm pretty sure that they're gonna be listed on their websites so that you can go and take a look at these. So we're covering a lot here, and I hope that you guys are finding this information valuable. And I tell you, if this is helping you, I want you to do me a quick favor, and I want you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so. Hit the like button and match those reaction buttons, because my goal is to demystify complex financial topics like this, and this is going to help you guys reach uh, uh, your goals, and then you're going to help me reach more people by hitting these subscription buttons, the like buttons, the mashing the reaction buttons, so that the algorithm can show this to more people who are going to need to hear this information. And it's going to be free information for most of the people. And then the in-depth knowledge is going into the membership for the people who want to pay for more knowledge. And it makes a huge difference than trying to figure this out on your own. Because by me giving you the heads and tails of how to do this, if you decided that this was going to be a financial platform that you will be willing to undertake, if you know that they're going to make you fix your bad credit, if you know that they're going to make you fix your payment history, if you know that they're going to make you do certain steps before you qualify, if you get rid of all of your debt, work on payment plans, charge off any charge off, you're working on a payment plan to pay it off, and do on time payment history now going forward, and then get rid of any of the red flags that would have gotten you disqualified from a regular loan, even if your credit score isn't high, You're not worried about your credit score. You're worrying about getting rid of your debt and then managing on time payments so that you can then talk to these people and say, hey, based on my current income, what can I afford to buy? And they'll show you, and that'll move you into the right direction. I'm here every night of the week. I'm here every night of the week. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about different countries around the world we can invest in, and then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday we're going to be talking about self improvement and self development. I think Thursday we're going to be talking about offshore banking, and we're going to be doing a lot more information about that because we've been touching base on international stuff, but we haven't been going into how do you even get involved in that. We covered last week why it's important for you to even know about it, and then we're starting to cover how you can do it. And there's different ways that you can get involved in it. Some ways includes going to that country and getting residency to get it. And other ways you can actually get it without even having to leave your couch. So we're going to be covering the ins and outs of that, the pluses and minuses of that, and the difficulties of those scenarios as well. So let's get back to it. This is going to be one of the most important questions. The NACA program, for all of its benefits, is absolutely not for everyone. So figuring out if you're the ideal candidate will save you a ton of time and frustration. So let's start with the ideal NACA candidate. This person is, above all, a patient and organized individual. They see the 6 to 12 month timeline as a necessary preparation period. Or you can be proactive and get this stuff done 6 to 12 months before you contact them and save the time that you deal with this with them, right? These are going to be meticulous record keepers. They have a subtle income, but have they have a stable income and they've struggled to save for traditional down payments. Their credit scores might not be perfect, but they have a solid 12 months or more of on time payments for their rent and utilities, phone bills, car insurance, stuff to that effect. The ideal candidate is willing to follow the rules, go through all the emotions, no matter how tedious they may sound, and they're going to see their counselors as a coach. They are ready to budget and stick to that budget and then save their payment shock every month. They are buying a home to live in for their long haul. And most importantly, they have a warrior mindset where they know that it's going to be an uphill battle, but they are determined to see it through because the prize of affordable home ownership is worth all of the effort. Now, who should probably avoid NACA? If you are in a hurry, this is not for you. The unpredictable timeline will cause immense stress. If you are disorganized or easily frustrated by bureaucracy, you will find this process to be a special kind of torture. If you are looking for flexibility, this strict owner occupancy rule is a deal breaker. If you are an aspiring real estate investor, this program is explicitly not for you. If you're trying to start up a business using this program, don't. It ain't gonna help you. It's gonna get it because even as an aspiring real estate investor, if you're gonna buy the property, pay the property down, and then leverage your property, refinancing it with somebody else as collateral towards another property, this can help you get there only if you meet their rules and requirements until you refinance the property. Once you refinance this property with somebody else where you don't have to dance to their tune, you're on a whole new song. You can do that. It is possible, but and like we said, they will allow you to own or occupy a fourplex where you live in one unit and you rent out the other three units as long as you live on the property. What you do with the rest of the property is up to you and whatever restrictions they have on the lien towards the property. As long as the contract doesn't explicitly prohibit profits being made from the property, you can do whatever you want to do with the property. Whether you buy a 5 bedroom house and rent out 4 rooms, or you buy a fourplex and rent out 3 units, You have to be able to afford the cost of the property by yourself, then add extra people onto it. If you're going to do a co-ownership, you and your husband, you and your wife, you and your kid, and you guys are going to share a unit where the two of you are going to move into one unit and then you're going to rent out the other three. If the two of you can pay for the whole property, the other three tenants that move in can help you pay for the property faster. As long as the property is being paid for and you're still living on the property, there's not that many complaints that's going to come about. You still got to show up every so often and do the seminar. You still got to show up and pay the membership fee, worse than an HOA scenario. But at least you own this fourplex and you can now leverage the fourplex to go and buy a single family home, put another tenant into the fourplex, and now you have your own house and your fourplex, where your fourplex is paying for your house and paying for the fourplex, and you've got money left over to pay for the car, the phone, utilities. You don't got to work anymore. You got to work anymore. If the fourplex is paying you $6,000 a month and the cost of both properties is only costing you $2,000 a month, you can put away $1,000 a month to cover repairs for both properties out of the almost $6,000 a month. That's $3,000 a month that's going towards expenses, where there's an extra $3,000 a month for profit. Now, understandably, $3,000 a month is up with $36,000 a year. And I still know that this logic, you still have some alpha boss ladies that's like, well, shit, it's $36,000 a year worth of profit. That ain't a lot of money. But if you own your own house, you own your car, all your bills are paid, you've got a rental property that's turning over revenue, you ain't got to work, and the $36,000 is really play money because your priority expenses are covered by your tenants. $36,000 a year worth of play money is some damn good money. So a lot of females is like, oh, he ain't shit because he ain't making 100K. But fuck, if I got $36,000 a year worth of play money, I ain't gotta be shit. I ain't gotta work neither. Because with that logic, I can go to the Philippines, have my tenant pay for the house, pay for both houses, go to the Philippines, pick me up somebody who don't give a shit about the $36,000 a year, and fly that person back. Passport bros all the way. These people come out of nowhere and they be dogging folks. But I just gave you a whole business model where now you have five doors under your belt. You got $36,000 worth of profit, and you ain't got to do shit. Just show up and show other people how to do it. He says, so buy enough properties to earn passive income to cover your life expenses. What's the amount you'd consider to be too risky? Or do you cancel that out with more properties? You want to make sure that you can afford to pay for it yourself. When you start generating revolving income from tenants, you want to make sure that the majority of your tenants is covering everything. So specifically, they expect you to have about 60 to 70% of performance on a property. 60 to 70% of performance on a property is 3 out of 4 units. If you're not paying, at least 2 out of the 3 tenants that you have, which is about 66% of your tenants, is paying for the property. Now, the cost of the property must be less than the 2 people that are guaranteed to pay. Right? Then, if like what Michael said, like 1,700, but if it's like 1,500 a month, you're looking at like $3,000 a month on that property. With $3,000 a month on that property, you're likely, if you're paying $2,500 a month on that property, you're likely to get between $1,000 and $500 a month of profit for yourself. But your mortgage is paid, and that 500 can cover your lights, your water, your gas bill, your car insurance for the month, gas bill for the month. So you don't really need anything. If the third person pays, that's an extra $1,500 a month, where you could put away $500 a month for repairs, and you have $1,000 a month worth of spending money, which is an extra $12,000 a year. Now, you only expand when you can afford to expand. You don't expand to offset debt. You expand with profits. So if you are making more money than you're spending and you have enough money to expand, where I would recommend that you would kind of either pay down the property or put enough money into a brokerage to leverage the the property and whatever brokerage account you have to get another property, and that extra cost, like remortgaging a property and then phasing in a second house, would put you in a position where two houses are under one mortgage. But if it's the three people, now four people, because you've got a second single family home and a fourplex, you're not paying, but these four people are. And now if you're getting $6,000 a month from this property, and the two properties together being refinanced might cost you like $3,000 or $4,000, out of the $6,000, you still got $2,000. And again, all of your primary 60% of your primary expenses are covered. And with the remainder, your lights is 150, your water is 60, your gas is 60. You're looking at, car insurance, phone bill. You're looking at spending less than $500 out the $2,000 of profit. Again, putting away $500 a month for the repairs on any home, and you still got $1,000 of play money, which is $12,000 a year. If your expansion is going to cause you to still have the same amount of profits, but your overhead is going to be a little bit higher. As long as that's the case, or less, where you're going to make more money and spend less money, either way, as long as the properties pay for themselves, you want to expand. But if you're going to get to a second property, now you got to pay for this mortgage, they're paying for that mortgage, and if somebody doesn't pay over there, you got to pay for two mortgages. You're putting yourself in a financial bind where you cannot afford to pay for both properties. You don't want to do that. You only want to set yourself up for success. So even if you're leveraging one fourplex to buy another fourplex, you want to make sure that whichever fourplex that requires you to stay on it has the 75% that is guaranteed to pay going to be there. And the one that you don't have to stay in, 100% of the tenants that are going to be there are going to pay. And if you've got 7 out of 8 tenants that are paying, see what I'm saying? Now you're looking at almost $10,000 a month worth of income coming in. But again, you're still looking at almost the same quantity, because the larger the property, the more the mortgage is going to be. But if you're paying the mortgage down faster, you're getting rid of the debt faster, then you won't have, your notes are going to be lower. When your notes start becoming lower, that's when your tenants' profits is going to line your pockets a lot more. But that requires you to really balance the budget on that. So do you expand to offset debt? No. You expand to offset extra profits. When you start making enough taxable income to pay Uncle Sam, you might be looking at enough money to put a down payment down on another property and expand on the properties. That way you have generating the capabilities of more debt that can turn over more profits. Um, this is going to also be important for you guys to understand the difference between priority and non-priority members. This is based on your income compared to the area median income, AMI. Priority members have a household income at or below the median for the area. They get the absolute best benefits, lowest interest rates, and the ability to buy a home in almost anywhere in the area. You're welcome. I greatly appreciate you coming through. We got a lot of details that we cover for you guys to make you guys the most successful possible. It's just is not a lot of people know about it, because I'm a dude in a suit telling you guys about how to fix your own lives instead of being a hot chick, having bad girls club conversations. This isn't a red pill, blue pill, black pill podcast. This podcast is about self-improvement and self-development. It's about distributing knowledge to people who want to learn better about their lives, and not too many people know about it. We got what, 82,000 people follow subscribe to the channel, but 82,000 out of 386 million people, we don't got a lot of people watching us. You know, we don't have 1% of YouTube watching us. I think we got to get upward of 150 to 175,000 to have 1% of YouTube follow us, right? So while we do have people watching us on Twitch and Twitter and TikTok, we have not covered 1% of the market yet, but we're going to get there. It just requires you to take this information that you believe is valuable and share it with other people that you know. But we're here every night of the week, and we provide you guys with an hour to 3 or 4 hours worth of information every night of the week. where, for as little as $3 in the membership per month, you get more knowledge from me than any financial advisor, any tax agent, any brokerage, even any uh, 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 motivational speaker, any seminar individual, like anybody else that would be talking to you about how you can make your life better, and they would be charging you like $350 and go to this summer camp and all of this other crap. And the lowest membership I got right now, where all the details that I don't give you here that goes into the membership, is like $3 a month, and that you're gonna get more from me 30 days at 3 hours a day, 30 days a month. You're gonna get more from me for $3 than what you would get from anywhere else. And then after you consolidate all the information you got from me, you take it, cross-reference it with the source, cross-reference it with agents, lawyers, whoever that you're going to use this information with. But now you have all the questions and all of the receivable answers for it. And then when you go to that agent, instead of spending 5 hours at $350 an hour where you don't know where to start, but by the time they finish boosting up how good they are, you finally have enough questions to get to the answers. Now, instead, you're like, hey, this is the plan that I want to do with my life. You make sure that I'm doing it legally. Now you're only giving them $350 for 1 hour. And if they give you 1 hour free, you're going to spend 2 hours there for $350 to iron out what you already knew you wanted to do, instead of going there lost and paying them per hour to help them figure out what you want. You know what you want. You set it up. You put it together because we've been doing it. And then when you go to them and you talk to them about it, that's when they you're set. You're ready to go. Just like I said, this program might be shit for a lot of people, but if you got your shit together when you walk in the door, they're likely not going to spend as much time. If it's a 6 to 12 month process to get your shit together, if you got your shit together and then you go tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, the only problem I got right now is that I don't make enough income. Priority. He said, you can do an experiment where you use an AI to read your script and see if it actually increases. Uh, but love your info and your show. Keep it up. Oh, well, I mean, if I use an AI to read the script for me, then I wouldn't need to be here. So if I wanted to create my own script and then turn my script into an audio and then play some crap in the background, some type of reel to reel video footage that will help you guys pay attention to what's being done, then you would listen to the AI script. But then the problem that you're going to have with that is that you're not going to be able to ask real time questions to the AI. The AI is going to really just take the words, put it into a video, and be a post play scenario where you would drop comments in the comment section. I'd read them tomorrow and then respond to them. You're talking to a real live in person right now in the moment podcast. So if you have an appropriate question related to the topic, I'm going to answer it right now, which is not something that you're going to get from other places. A lot of other podcasts, they're having a conversation on the podcast. You might have two people talking to each other, but they're ignoring the comment section. You have certain podcasts where if you give them a few $100s, they will put your comment up on the screen, but they're not going to engage your comment a lot of the times. You have a lot of podcasts that might respond to your comments, but they're not actually talking about anything meaningful that will benefit your life. I'm only here to benefit your life. So when you talk to me, I'm going to, in real time, give you the appropriate information that'll benefit your life. Everything from fixing your poor spending habits, budgeting, turning off subscriptions you don't need, savings, investing, paying attention to how things are changing in our society that's going to impact your money. And then as you change the way you live your life, change the way you make decisions in your personal life, your standard of living goes down because you're not wasting so much money on stuff you don't need. And then the requirement for income is going to be less. And now you're going to benefit more from the money you're making on your job. So you're not stressed on your job. You can navigate better. You can negotiate your raises and promotions better. You can fix your retirement better. You can set up your final days better, where you're able to say, you know what, I don't have to work no more because I made more than enough money to cover the spread. You're not able to do that if you wake up in the morning because you have to go to work. You work all day, then you drag home, you fall asleep, and you wake up tomorrow because you have to go to work. You're on autopilot. And no podcast is going to tell you stop being on autopilot, get your life together. In 40 years, 50 years, you're going to be tired. Your body's going to hurt. You're not going to be able to work no more. You're on Social Security and you're wondering if you can afford to pay for your house right now. But the truth of the matter is that if in your 20s, 30s, 40s, you get yourself together and put 20 years towards giving yourself a better life, by the time you're 65 or 72, you should have a standard of living set where you don't have to work anymore. All of your bills are paid, all of your responsibilities are kept. You might even be able to elevate your standard of living without overshooting your budget, and you can just live work free without government funding, without Social Security disability, and be able to use that money anywhere in the world for a reasonable standard of living that you are satisfied with. That's the end goal. That's the end goal. When you don't have to be a Walmart door greeter at 70 years old, because you can stay at your house and do that on your couch. You ain't got to. You can greet the neighbors as they pass by because all your bills is paid. He said you have the golden nugget of information for sure. I damn sure do. He said, I love the interaction aspect of your videos 100%. You're the real one. And this is the thing. This is a new concept. I've actually done research on my podcast, and that's wild because not too many people do that either. Most people actually do research on the content that they create and their competitors. I did research on the structure and dynamic of my podcast, and I have come to find out that I'm the only one that does it this way. Most podcasters have one platform and they stick with that one platform, raise their membership, and then potentially branch out eventually. My podcast is a highly interactive podcast that is providing knowledge and information on multiple platforms at the exact same time, where other platforms, if they so choose to interact, would honestly be able to interact with one another. And that is where this podcast is different from other podcasts, because usually Twitter can watch YouTube talk, Twitch can watch YouTube talk, but they can't do nothing about it. In this podcast, if Twitch started sending comments to YouTube, YouTube would see those comments and be able to respond, and Twitch would see the response to YouTube. Twitter can comment to YouTube, and Twitch can respond to Twitter, and YouTube can respond to Twitch and Twitter. It's set up. We're almost about to have it set up where TikTok can dive in and start throwing in comments. YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter can respond to TikTok, and now we have a global conversation across 4 or 5 platforms where everybody is talking about how to make, save, and invest money and build their lives up and be a better individual. This is the only platform that is structured that way, and it is very hard to maintain because it's about self improvement and self development. So no topic is going to be just pointing the finger at the other person. Yeah, we're going to find a problem, but we're going to find a solution as well. But the whole structure of the podcast is definitely about a live interactive podcast that aids everybody who comes in their ability to learn and grow. And that's not something that any other channel offers on any other social media platform. Everybody else has got that advice. Hey, I can help you make $1 million. Hey, I can help you start up a business. Hey, I can help you do a drop shipping thing with no money down, and then just pay for all of this extra stuff on the back end. But truth is, bro, I can teach you how to start yourself from nothing to something if you just come and watch the show every night of the week. And for any extra details that isn't on the live, it's going to be into the membership. So for extra $3 a month, everything that's not on the main channel is in the background. And that's when you start seeing what shit. Stock options starting. A matter of fact, I got somebody I got to talk to after the show tonight because I have to give them the portfolio, the core satellite portfolio, and then the primary 6 core satellite growth for the real estate investment trust and the BDCs. I got to provide that to somebody, and then give them links to the um give them links to the investment opportunities, and then give them links to the show so that they can see, like, hey, if you jump into the membership, you will see that all of this stuff is here, and all the other information that you need, and all this stuff is here. And they're gonna be like ecstatic when I drop this in the email for them, because they're gonna be like, holy shit, I didn't know that you did X, Y, and Z, A, B, and Z on top of the 1, 2, 3 you told me about. Yes. And the only reason why I'm telling them about it is because the goal is to help them better themselves. One of the things that men usually do is brag about themselves so that other people can believe that they are somebody. I'm only going to brag about how you can be a better you because I mean, at the end of the day, I don't really care what you think about me. I care about what you can do for you because my legacy is the success of all of the people around me. So if I can make you better than what you were, then I will live on in you. And you'll be able to tell your friends, you'll be able to tell your family members, you will be able to tell your kids, your grandkids that you are where you are today because of this and that, talking about this, that, and everything in between. Where they will come to the channel, and I should see second and third generation individuals that have been watching this podcast in the next 10 or 20 years, where they can remind folks that their dad, their uncle, their grandfather was on this podcast years ago. They made themselves successful, and now I'm talking to second generation wealth because they followed the lead and we all built wealth together. That's the goals of this. That's the goals and the priorities of this. But we always come with something different every night of the week. Now, as it pertains to the non-priority members that have an income above the median average, they still get no down payments and they still get no closing costs, but their interest rates are going to be slightly higher than the individuals that are financially challenged. Though it's still going to be very competitive, they're going to be able to pay a little bit more, and they are restricted to buying a home in a designated priority area, typically a lower income census tract. So you're going to be in a economic zone. That's what their goals, their priorities are, because this is a nonprofit working in economic zones. So you're not going to be able to use this program to go to the Hamptons. You're not going to be able to use this program to go to Malibu, but you will be able to use this program to go from renting to owning. Finally, you have to meet that NACA's debt to income ratio. Generally, you are expected to have your total housing payments that cannot exceed about 31%. If you And that's going to be of your monthly income. So your total monthly debts, including the new mortgage, cannot exceed about 40 to 43%. Now, these are conservative ratios designated to ensure that you aren't overextended. Now, back to our original question, the NAC, and those ratios are going to be for most lenders. Even the VA allows you up to 51%, but that's because you're on a fixed income, but it's a guaranteed fixed income. You know what I mean? So when you're looking at 31% of your debt to income, and then 40 to 43% is adding an extra 12% of debt from your mortgage to your base standard of living. That's what they're adding, which is looking at being able to say that less than half of the money you bring in every month can cover all your bills, which also means if the other half of your money is not covering bills, instead of you wasting it, you should be able to invest that. So say you're in a situation where you're about to pay $12,000 a year for the total cost of your debt, right? And you got 12,000 a year that you don't need, right? That means you should be putting away 12,000 a year every year, which means in 10 years you're putting away 120,000 plus interest, which is closer to $300,000 if you're using brokerage accounts that I selected for you. And in 20 years, you're going to be closer to 750 to $1 million. Where by the time you bought the house, you should have built the type of brokerage account that pays for the house for you. So the last 10 years that you're paying for the house, you're not even paying for the house. The house is being paid for by the brokerage account. Because once you get past a certain threshold, the $12,000 a year that you was paying into your brokerage account is paying you 24,000 a year. Y'all got to understand opportunity cost. So the NACA mortgage, is it the ultimate home buying hack or a bureaucratic nightmare? The honest answer is going to be it's a little bit of both. NACA is a bureaucratic nightmare that can lead to the ultimate home buying hack if you have the right mindset and an unwavering determination to see it through. But if you have your financial shit together before you talk to them, it's not going to be as much of a nightmare. If the only problem you have with qualifying for a home is that you don't make enough money to qualify for the lender, but you fixed your credit, you've eliminated your debt, you've had on time payments for 2 years, you've got a little bit of money saved up, but not enough to cover the 3.5%. When you do walk up, you're going to be the perfect candidate for guaranteed moving. But if you go from I just everything just got charged off, I'm not talking to any of my debt collectors, I'm not going to try to negotiate nothing. I've got all of this debt. I'm not paying for enough stuff. I'm late for all of my payments. That's going to be the type of person where they're like, look, we'll get you in a house, but over the next 12 months, you got to get your shit together. Over the next 18 months, you got to get your shit together. And if you get your shit together, then and only then will we put you into a house. So yes, it is going to be a tightrope walk. And with these people, if for some reason you get the $25,000 back of your tax return, you got to write them a letter. Hey, I got a bunch of money back from my tax return. What you do with the money? It better have been pay off a bunch of debt, right? Pay off some debt in advance, pay on your base bill so that you don't have to worry about where your money's coming from, right? Then if you have a large expense, you need to write a letter to them like, what's this expense for? I had to fix my car. So I got my tax return and fixed my car. Not put rims on it, not put a new stereo system in it, because that shows financial irresponsibility. But I rebuilt the engine or I repaired the transmission on it, and now the car that I own is a guaranteed driver for another 10 or 15 years. You've got to be responsible about your shit. If you are, this is a long, demanding path that will test your patience and force you to confront your financial habits like never before, but it is possible for you to benefit from this. But if you can endure the process, the reward is incredible, because buying a home with no money down and no closing costs can accelerate your path to home ownership by years. So instead of trying to put away 75 grand to get a $750,000 house, you fix all of your debt, start working on a little bit of your credit, maintain on time payments, go talk to them people. You ain't got a dollar, a pot, neither a window, but you know, you're set outside of that. They'll cover the spread for you. The security of a below market fixed interest rate provides a lifetime of affordable payments, and the counseling sets you up for success in a way that no traditional lender even could. The NACA is not for the faint of heart. It is for a disciplined, patient, and persistent individual. Now, if you've got a rental contract with a landlord that's going to help you with at least a buy process, you moved into the house, you love this house, you'll buy this house, you get with NACA, you work with NACA until they finance the house for you. NACA may not finance that particular type of house. That house might not be in the market in which they wish to work. You got to find that out. But if your landlord is willing to work with you on payments, NACA could potentially help you buy another house and then you can move out and go somewhere else. But that requires for you to have the type of setup where you're renting and owning in an economic zone. And if you're renting and owning in an economic zone, you can go from renting in that exact same area to buying in that exact same area. Now, a lot of people are like, nah, man, I want to get out the hood. I completely respect that. But do you know that it is easier, instead of trying to squeeze blood out of a turnip, it is easier to live under your means, build up wealth, and then move out of the hood than it is for you to move out of the hood and then live paycheck to paycheck, trying not to go back to the hood. It's harder to go back to the hood because once you get used to not being in the hood, not being you getting used to not seeing squad cars every hour patrolling your neighborhood, helicopters flying overhead every night, spotlights shining in your window, dogs barking, running past your house, people getting tackled in your backyard, and kind of stuff. When you get used to not having that kind of environment, bro, you end up feeling super uncomfortable going back to it. So you might as well deal with what you got going on, maintain what you can afford to maintain, build your wealth, and then when you move out of it, you move out of it for good. And you're taking generations with you. Because a homestead, a primary standard of living, this house is going to be willed off to your kids, your grandkids. You should be able to set things up, build you up a trust, use this house to help your kids be able to get a better house in another neighborhood. This is going to be for the person who has been told no by traditional banking systems, but refuses to give up on their ability to own their own place and be self sustainable. Okay. It's for the family that wants to plant roots and build wealth for the next generation, not just for the average fixer flipper or the average, I'm going to start up a real estate business and this is an alternative way to start it up. That's not what this is for. NACA programs is proof of a powerful idea that with the right support, the dream of home ownership can be accessible to everyone, not just those with a pile of cash in the bank. It is a demanding journey, but for the thousands of families who have made it through, this has been nothing short of a life changing experience. Now, the key is to go in with your eyes wide open, prepared for the battle ahead, and focused on the prize. So, what's going to be your story? Have you been through an NACA process yet, or are you thinking about it? Because I know Stephen was thinking about it, but then he was like, nah, fuck that bullshit. That is too much stress. Share your experiences and your questions in the comments because this is a community that is one of the best resources for navigating the journeys that we need to get ourselves to self sufficiency. And your story can be the motivation for someone else. And finally, if tonight's show has helped you in any way, please take the time to give it a thumbs up. Make sure that you like, subscribe, share it with somebody else. Take a look at the membership. And for more deep dives into real estate and other personal financing information, make sure that you swing by for the rest of the week and the rest of the month. Now, that's all I have for you guys for tonight. We covered a lot of stuff tonight. I want to start off by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, I give you all this information to help y'all become higher value men, not just financially, but with more knowledge in your decision making. Once you find the things in your life that are inside of your control that you can change, you proactively put forth the effort to change that. Then, with a better standard of living, you're capable of navigating around the things that are outside of your control. And ladies, while this is a male driven podcast from the male's perspective, you too can use this information and make yourself higher value women. You have to find your 20-year plan and then reverse engineer that plan to figure out where the first steps are in order for you to get to your plan and start putting forth the effort to get there. If you keep your eyes and ears open for potential suitors that have the mindset and willpower and capability and devotedness to walk the same path that you're walking, that person can aid you in your ability to get to your goals faster. So instead of looking at his wallet and, girls' night out and all this other stuff, pay attention to the people around you and see how they benefit your future, not your now. You're not looking for entertainment now. You're looking for a better future tomorrow. Because two people can get there faster than one, right? You all just got to work together. So with that being said, I want to thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate That's my personal command.